Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Tonight, we are going to see how long we make it. I have not been feeling well this week. You might hear it in my voice. I'm gonna call it now. We've got one Mountain Dew's worth of stream time to go, and then I probably will have to call it. Either that or my voice will give out. So I picked up a cold or something over the weekend, and it is still kicking my butt. But I am here, and we are going to do this thing. So. Couple things first of all. So .NET Conf is coming up in November, or as I typically call it, Geek Christmas, November 11th through the 13th. It is online, it is free, it is all of the new stuff with .NET, C#, Visual Studio 2026, all the awesomeness. So definitely add it to your calendar. There's going to be some cool stuff there. As a side bonus to go along with this, we are going to be hosting our own local .NET Conf in the Spokane area. It will be both virtual and in person. So if you are not local to the area, you are welcome to show up. The agenda is intentionally a little vague at the moment because we are doing this in January, so after the new year, because of all the holidays. The sessions are going to get filled out after the main .NET Conf in November, so this will get more flushed out after the 13th or thereabouts. So, but for people who are in person, there will be food, there will be some networking time for people to meet up and chat. If you have a company that is hiring or similar, come with that information. That would be awesome. I know there's always people in the area that are hunting. So there is that one there. But one more thing, the Spokane.net user group. So December 3rd, after .NET Conf and Net 10 launches, I will be talking through what all is new. Once again, in person or online, whatever suits your fancy. This one is going to be in the evening. Doors open at 4:50. We start at 5 and go 60 to 90 minutes is what I will say. But there's a lot of material, and usually this talk every year gets a lot of attention because it's very broadly applicable. If you are a .NET dev and you are interested in the new stuff that is coming, this is for you. Okay, real quick, before we dive into our Enigma app, I was briefly looking at Copilot's failed PR here. Where it was a frickin' idiot. But I will demonstrate why. So this is kind of cool. I don't know when GitHub added this, but we can now see where the build errors are. Like, that's kind of slick. And so here's the wonderful bit that it did. It went through, it added in this converter, which is lovely and nice. The only problem that I see here is that you'll note the error is not helpful in WPF, and I feel like sometimes people run into this a lot where it's not really clear what's going on, and it's value cannot be null, parameter key. I'll give you a moment. Where in this line is the null parameter? And yeah, it's not obvious, in my opinion. I've only seen this before, so I had a hunch of where to look, and the diff kind of gave it away. When you look here, and I think it'll let me expand this guy out. If we look, it's using, so one, the hint is in, it's obviously in something that just got added, but you'll note it did converters internal, automation properties, name converter.instance. Xstatics constructor parameter is the key parameter that it's talking about here, and it's saying that it's getting a null. And the reason it's getting a null is because it cannot figure out what to do with this value here. Because inherently in XML or XAML, it has to convert something that is a string, functionally, into something that is an actual converter type. And when it can't do that, in this case, it gives a null and then gives up, which is unfortunately wrong. And the reason it's getting a null is you'll note that it added this namespace references, converters internal, but then didn't bother to include converters internal anywhere up here. Yeah, so that's Yeah, that's not great. That's not great. So I think we just fixed it. And I can show the diff here. Doo-doo-doo. So you'll note I just slapped that one in there, but I was realizing, oh, I guess we do have two separate internal namespaces. And I wanted to double check where it actually put the converter real quick before I get too carried away, because I don't trust it in the least. Automation property name converter. There we go. There we go. So there is that, there is that, there is that. And I think this is fixing up most of it. Okay, write me a commit message, Gemini. Because you are awesome. Let's see, add internal namespace declaration, registers, and theme dictionary. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's about what you messed up on, Copilot. Force push, and then we are going to go up to here. We're going to go over to here. Yeah, I know you're out of date. We just pushed to you. I'm going to give it my approval. Can I just click there to approve? No, I can't. That's disappointing. I really wish there was an easier way to just... Like, I know they want you to come over here and actually look at what was changed. Let me look here real quick, because I only changed a handful of these, not all of them. Did the other ones... Was it compiled for me locally? So, like, Combo Box must have already had the namespace from a different converter included. Let's look. Because I didn't have to add in the namespace to it. Wow. Oh, that's going to be a ton. Let's just go here. Boom. Let's see here. Themes and combo box. Converters internal. Yeah, so it was already defined. Okay. Okay. Send it. And we will enable auto merge squash, and get that guy going. So I was trying to get some of these PRs working and going through and getting these things lined up. I think there's a handful of these to go through and check on. So we'll see about trying to get more of those through. But for now, my brain, I'm at a solid 80% tonight. So it is, when I say something stupid, just understand that's where I'm running from. About 80%, I think. Okay, enigma. Okay, so let's see. What's here? Let's see here. Okay, so let's see here. Izzy was adding in some stuff, but this is all in a different area. So great. For this repo, if anybody wants to play along at home, this is open source, and you can feel free to join in the fun if you'd like. So there's the repo. We are specifically going to be powering in app is where we ended up doing this. And on the PR in question, Izzy did leave a handful of comments on here. And so this guy here, so I think we're going to try to... Yeah, so there's a lot of good feedback. So we're gonna try to address a bunch of this and clean it up. Yeah. Yeah. So we will attack all of these individually. I think I'm just going to start with the first one, kind of work my way down. So the first one that he called out was the fact that we just had declared left, middle, right rotors. And for those people who are unfamiliar, so I found this page remarkably illuminating. So for people who don't know what Enigma is, this was an encryption machine that was used during World War II, most notable for being the Germans' encryption until the British scientists at Bletchley Park were able to crack it. But there are variations. This is the Mach 1, I believe, or Mark 1. Or no, I'm sorry, the M3 is the first one. I'm trying to remember exactly where the separation is on each of these. There's a bunch of different ones, right? And so here's the other one that I liked, because this first emulator is nice because it gives you kind of a basic idea of how this works, but it doesn't give you access to all of the relevant data, right? And so like you end up having to do these little bits for the plug board, but you can't change the number of rotors or otherwise. So it's nice, but it's not quite all the way there. I kind of found this setup a little bit easier to look at, but either way, to each his own. So short version, this is what we are trying to build a software simulator of, with the end goal of eventually getting to doing some fancy 3D stuff to kind of show the machine kind of broken out and being able to watch the electricity kind of flow through to understand how the mechanics of it work on the inside, because that's going to be the interesting part. Izzy's got hardware components and otherwise, because this may get used as part of a STEM event. But our purpose is software, because software's my jam. So we're doing that. We're letting the other engineers build hardware and do EEPROMs and all kinds of other fancy stuff, because that's their expertise. So this is where we're going to go. So I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of address this problem here, because I agree, it would be nice to have this rotor setup be more dynamic. So we're going to come in here and we're going to collapse some of this stuff. I'm mildly tempted to just turn Copilot loose on this because I think it'll eat it for breakfast. We can also probably murder this class now. I think we might be able to. We're going to leave it for now, because it is a nice reference of the API that it wrote for us. So we'll hold on to it for now. Okay, but here is where we end up with our rotors. The other thing that Izzy pointed out is right now the implementation that was done here by Copilot is the original Enigma machine. The rotors only had 26 letters, right? So if we look at this, right, I've only got 26 letters to play with, which is fine, right up until you realize that you need more letters. Or in Izzy's case, apparently, what did he say? A to Z, 0 through 9. So he's actually got potentially more. So I think we're going to need to have these rotors configured for being able to be a lot more dynamic for what they can have, because right now the rotors are kind of hard-coded at this idea of 26, which I don't think is quite what we want. So, but on each of these rotors, you'll note these ones all have this effectively a mapping of what they go to, and where the initial position is and where the ring setting is. So the ring setting's always, don't drag and drop. That's the wrong answer. Ring settings are always defaulted to 0. And then last week we had a fun experiment understanding why the heck you would ever do something like this. So, yeah. So the short answer, negative numbers is the reason, which is kind of interesting. So we want to make this guy a little bit nicer. So this guy is offering to convert to an auto property. How do you convert to an auto property? How do you do as an auto property? Oh, because of that. I don't think we were able to do this before. Specifically because we were using striker.net for mutation testing. I should dial this thing down so that it's not prompting me for that. because it's doing that because I have Lang version preview, and so it's trying, and because I have net 10 installed, it is prompting me to use net 10 features. There. Now we turn it off and it stops prompting. Okay. So net 10, you can replace these with the field keyword inside your properties, which is really slick, especially for things that aren't expected to be outside of it. So the first question comes, can we convert this out to be a different set of rotors? And I think the answer is yes. So I think what we want to do is something like I read-only list rotor. No, don't do. Stop it. Stop helping me. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And then down here, I think the path of least resistance here, right, is we do rotors, and then obviously we're gonna want to change this up more later, but we can do left, middle, right. Thank you, Copilot. You've been a wonderful help. And then we get rid of these. And so this needs to be a lowercase l. We're eventually going to change out this constructor as well, but one step at a time. One step at a time. That gets us to there. And then this is where our world's going to break. So we want to move forward through the rotors, right to left. So I think what we want to do is for int I equal to rotors dot count -1. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Copilot. And then we want to do the same thing on this side. No, Copilot, try again. There's your hint. Thank you. And so that moves us forward and back through the rotors. Okay, now let's move down and pick on the next one. So step rotors. Both middle and left rotors step. So let's see, hold on here. So if middle rotor is at a notch, middle and left step. If the right rotor is at a notch, middle rotor steps, right rotor always steps. So, hey, hang on. I feel like this is written in a very confusing way. Okay, if middle rotor is at a notch, the middle and the left both move. That makes sense. So if the middle is at a notch, they both move. If the middle is not at a notch, but the right one is, the middle one steps. So can't I just iterate across, skipping the first one? And if because I'm thinking the generalized logic here is if the rotor because you have to do these step calls in the right order here. And if we, and the nice part is we've got tests on this, so if we break this, we'll know right away. If I start from the right and go left, the first rotor I always step. No, I can't start from the right and go left. I have to start from the left and go right, skipping the first one, and if the rotor's at a notch, I rotate the one to the left. I think this is how this works. So for int I, right? Because this is going. Yeah, because functionally I'm treating my list or my array as 0 being on the left because that's the way my brain works. That's not helpful. So I actually want to start from 1. And I actually realized I probably want to come up here to do ensure at least 3 rotors. I don't know that we ever want less than 3. I think limiting to 3 is probably fair. And I think it's going to matter because of this condition here that we're about to do. So if rotor sub I is at a notch and I is greater than 0, which this is a worthless check because we're starting at 1, it's always going to be greater than 0, then step the rotor before you. It doesn't handle this case here. Because if middle is at a... This is what I don't know how to handle generically, is if middle is always at a notch, are they right to left? Good question, Victor. So, left, middle, right is the way it's set up. Because you'll note as we type, that left one always increments, right? And if I get, and when I get here, you'll note it hit the notch and moved. And the reason it did that, I'll set this guy back, because what we can do here is if I go look at my rotor config, because if we look at the rotors, there's rotor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when they had this machine, the rotors were like swappable, configurable gears, right? And so as part of Enigma, part of the code was they could drop in one of these 5 rotors into either the left, middle, or right slot. And this position here, this notch position, that's telling it where it rotates at. Now, this is set up as a character. At some point, I think we're going to change this to an index. But this is saying at Q, rotor 1 is at a notch. So if we look down here, when we create a Model 1, we're using rotors 1, 2, and 3. So left is 1, middle is 2, right rotor is 3. Right? And so if we look here, right rotor at 3, notch is at V. So if we come back to our simulator, all right, if we make the 3rd rotor at just before V, right, apply settings, how do I clear, right? And I go A, you'll know that then rotates. So maybe the way to look at it is if it's at a notch. No, if the rotor to its right is at a notch, or it's the rotor on the right, it spins. I think that logic works. All right, so this is a 2. Where's the notch position on 2? Notch position on 2 is E. So if I move this to an E, second rotor, initial position E, right? And I back this guy up to a V, apply settings. I think when I press this, what I expect is this rotor to also move because the rotor to the right is at a notch. There we go. Wait, why did it go? Where was I at before? Now I'm confused. Okay, initial position A. This is at V, right? Oh, so hold on. Now I've confused myself. This is what's E. Okay. So these two are at their notch positions. When I press this, I sort of expect to see BFW because I expect all of these to rotate. BFW, okay. Okay, so I think that logic holds. If the rotor to the right is at a notch position, let's go back here. If the rotor to the right is at a notch, so let's do here. And we will go through all of them. So let's see. If I is at the end, so rotors dot count -1, or right, or I plus 1 is at a notch, then we step rotor sub I. I think that works. I think that works. And if not, we've got tests and git. Okay. Let's see. Set rotor positions. This is only used in the tests and the examples. We will implement this for the moment, but I'm going to put an obsolete because API needs to be redone to work with a list, something of that nature. So, but I think the easiest thing here is rotors sub-0 dot position, right? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Copilot. You've been a wonderful help. Now shut up and go away. Get rotor positions. This is only used by tests and examples. So we are just going to once again do the same thing. Obsolete. Actually, you know what? We can fix this because we can do string builder like this. Return SB2. No. SB2 string. And then we can just iterate over them. That looks right. Okay. That'll work. And we'll have to deal with the A plus at some point here in a minute when we get to supporting the different character sets. Okay, so that should get us there. Tests. Let's turn on our live unit testing because we have include all tests. And I think this should just, yeah, sure, fine. Do it. Because I think we can turn this on and this should just work. Because that's part of why we put the Enigma code in its own little project, because it's as simple as one can possibly get, and we can test the snot out of it. We can keep all the Avalonia UI stuff higher up. Okay, so we broke something. Okay. So there was some constructor exceptions that were, these are no longer relevant, so I don't think I care. Because it expected these things to throw, and it didn't. We should probably throw. That's probably a good thing to fix. So, given that the rest of the stuff passed, I'm more inclined to fix it slightly differently. Because I think what we're going to get to is this guy becoming private. Yeah, it's being hit directly, but I think we're going to end up going through something more of this nature. Yeah, because I think we want to get it down to having a list of rotors here. So let's do IEnumerable. No, because we want to check the count. So how about I collection of rotor? And then we get rid of this. And then we're going to do argument exception. No. Let's do this. If rotors is, well, we can do the new syntax. Argument null exception. Throw if null. Hey, argument, null exception, or if null, rotors. There we go. Now I realize it's declared non-null, which is fine, but because we're a library, in theory, if it was referenced by something not using nullable reference type, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we won't worry about it. If rotors.count is less than 3, throw new argument out of range exceptions. There, we might actually support less than 3. It gets weird if you don't pass any rotors, though. Like, it just, I don't know. We'll wait and see. Unless Izzy has a use case where he wants less than 3, we'll deal with that. And then here, we'll just spread rotors, and that'll get us to there. All right, so that handles that. I'm surprised it's still showing the check marks because I think we just broke a bunch of tests. Yeah, so everything that's going directly into here, we're going to do this. That'll get that going. And then I think we should also probably verify that none of the individual rotors are null. I don't think we need a bunch of null checks here. I guess it doesn't hurt. It's just kind of wasteful. Because we're gonna do the same check to slam all these things down all at once. Right? Okay, so that gets us to there. And then we go here. So it's all these constructor tests that it wrote. Like, it didn't do a bad job writing tests, but dear heavens, it kind of went overkill. Yeah, that's just a thingamabobber there that we don't care about for the moment. Okay. Live unit testing's back into running. I think we're in a compiling state again. But we need to... let's see here. Failed reality. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. We are refactoring is the best word for it. I'm gonna do this. Okay. Do we build yet? Contain 5 constructors. Where? Boy, we got a lot of it. Change your constructor and everything goes all kaput. Okay. There we go. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because I set the build props to 13 to make the other one shut up, this one can no longer be preview. Okay. Oh, I can't condition it, can I? I can't condition it in a props file. So the trying to decide what's worse. Merry Christmas, Izzy. Merry Christmas. I'm going to put this back at preview for the moment. Partly because November is next month. And I think this problem goes away very quickly after November. I realize Striker.net has a downstream dependency and they may have a little more lag time, but we saw the PR last week of it was already in progress to be supported. So it's like, not really concerned. We'll deal with that later. Okay. So this is going to be rotors sub-0. This is going to be, we're addressing all your feedback, Izzy. So, because it was good. So we're going to get it all addressed. Do you have any problem with the constructor requiring at minimum 3 rotors? And I'm working apparently in 3 places at once. That's impressive. Because I think it makes my life a little bit easier if I can assume that I have at least 2 rotors, but I don't know if that actually makes any sense. Is there any problem with having a minimum of 3? only because I'm doing a for loop and I'm trying to not do extra bounds checks. At least 3. Great. That makes my life so much easier. Okay, if rotors any x is null, throw a new argument exception. There we go. That'll shut up some of the other things. Okay. And then that guy's obsolete. Build compiles. Live unit test run. These should be argument exception. This should be argument exception. And this should be argument exception. Bippity boppity booyah, all the test pass. Yay! Yeah, mathematically it'd not be secure enough. Yeah, and that's kind of what I figured, because at least in what little research I've done, there is no variant that has less than 3. Right? Okay. So this change will address the first bit of feedback, and then we're going to commit and we'll do the next bit. Okay, so let's go here. Auto-gen my message. Come on, Gemini, make it make sense. Figure out what I'm doing. Let's see. Factors, enigma machine to use rotor collection with rotors list, updates constructor except adjust rotor stepping, signal processing, and position methods to iterate lists, update all consumer code and test. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. That handles comment numero uno. Okay, so let's go back to that. Yes. So we didn't necessarily do a linked list, but we did do a read-only collection. That way you set your rotors at the point of instantiation and then go through there. And then we'll need more. Let's see here. And then Enigma machine here. Yeah, this is going to be the next big one here, is addressing this character set, because the current implementation that was done by our lovely AI friends built out the rotor assuming this. And it does this based upon the premise that it can do character A plus position. And I think what we want to do instead is, I think we want to allow this thing to have a source and a target set, and then allow enumeration through that, I think is what we want to do. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is change out notch to be an int rather than a character, because I think step 1 is to get this. I think a machine just has a character set. Okay, that would make sense, because each rotor doesn't need an individual character set, but a machine needs a character set. That does mean that if you specify a machine's character set, every rotor you select has to have the same number of elements. I think that works, because we'll just check that in the constructor. I think that works. We'll just do it, yeah, because if we check it in the constructor to make sure, and then when you declare up a machine, most machines can just have the A through Z character set, and as well as the plug board. Yes, thank you. So let's get the notch fixed first, and then we're going to go here. And so we want, let's see. Argument out of range exception. Throw if less than, I think we can just do less than 0. All right, so that should go there, and then we want to update the test to reflect that. All right, let's see. Oh boy, Rest SX Harm, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. We are attempting to build an Enigma machine with Avalonia because it's cool. Whoop. Okay. What are you? Oh, ooh, auto refactor. Auto refactor. What? Object initialization can be simplified. Am I an idiot? How do you think that gets simplified? Oh, it's trying to... No, don't do that. Don't do that. Good stuff. Well, thank you. Izzy's the mastermind behind it, and he's hanging out in the chat, so all the hard questions go his way. I'm just the code monkey. Okay, so how is it that I... Oh, that's dirty. I changed this from a character to an int, forgetting that there's an implicit conversion from character to int. Oh, dear heavens. That would have been a heck of a bug. How did the... Wait. How did this not fail a bunch more tests? This should have failed a whole slew of tests, right? It failed one test. That's not enough tests. Some would call me a mad scientist. That's the best kind, Izzy. That is the best kind. That is wrong that that did not fail more tests. Oh, I know why it didn't fail more tests. I know exactly why. It's because this code hasn't been changed. The moment I do this, that should fail a bunch more tests. There we go. That's more like what I was expecting. Or an idiot. Izzy, I think we can conclude you're not an idiot. Okay, so that the moment you switch that out, because this is the other, I think those are the only two usages of notch, right? Where's my find results window? Or meso? Oh boy, I don't know the term. I might have to look it up. Kind of scared to Google it on stream. Where's my... Oh, wow. Okay. I plugged in my third monitor, and it has decided that that's where my find results go. Yeah, there's only two usages. Great. Misogynist. Got it. Yep. I think that accurately describes Izzy. Because when he came to me, it was like, yeah, let's build a simulator. Well, other people have done that. No, let's do it on hard mode. And by the way, we're going to fix all the mistakes that they made decades ago because they didn't have cool tech like we do now. Okay, so this test here is easy. That doesn't make sense, so we just murder it. Okay, because notch doesn't go to uppercase. So that test we get rid of. Okay, is it notch after stepping returns? Okay, so this guy here is 16. I think we're gonna do position 16, and we're gonna change this to Q, just to make more sense. Do it right first time. Yeah, Izzy, whenever you have that the hardware one up and running, like we should like record video of it and do that, because it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. Like it's a slick. Okay, so the other thing that we need to fix is I need to adjust these. So this is 16. Actually, can I do... I think I can get away with this. Does that make your head hurt? Or is that brilliant? It feels like the wrong way to pass an int around. It feels wrong, but it also feels mildly clever. I don't know if this is more like they're the exact same performance wise, because this is a const, so this is evaluate compile time, not runtime. I'm kind of tempted to do this. I'm kind of tempted to do this. because it, right? Like, am I crazy? Come on, Copilot. There's your hint. Here's your hint. Private. There you go. Good Copilot. You're so helpful. Good boy. It's important to make sure that you appropriately put your AI helper in its place. What are you unhappy about? Cannot convert from method group to int. We'll come back to that. Oh, this is horrible. This is horrible. There's the method. Oh, we can't do the letter. Oh, that is so bad. So bad. Okay, I guess we can't get away with this. I think what we... Oh, that's so bad. It's because we have a rotor named V. Oh. I mean, in theory, at some point, we're probably going to have to make this a little more explicit, like M3 rotors or something of that nature. Like, it's going to have to be slightly more specific down here further on. Oh, that's so bad. We're going to do this then, because I feel like my brain isn't going to comprehend this if I do it another way. And my brain, because I'm only at 80% today, again, I subtract 2 Unicodes. Yeah, it's only in there because it's a quick and easy way. The rest of this code was built under the assumption that you're only using uppercase A to Z and indexing accordingly, because ASCII, everything comes in order, so you can just do A plus position and get yourself there. And so this is secretly a mapping of 26 characters, knowing that there's only 26 things in here. So I think, where is C# interactive? Give me my interactive. So because I don't want to do math in my head, and thinking is hard, and when you have a cold, you can only think so much. Hey, look at that, 4. Could I have done that? Probably. But I feel a lot more confident doing it like that. Give me another one. 21. But I feel like I absolutely need to comment these. Otherwise, future Kevin is not going to have any bloody idea what I was thinking. And I'll have to come back and watch this stream to figure out what I was doing. Like, it's a messed up way to get an int, but you know what? It's a way to get an int. This way, I know exactly what it is, and I don't have to worry about it. And then this one's Z, so it should be 25. Right? Not crazy. D minus A is 25, right? Yeah, okay. Okay. I'm not as dumb as I look. Check commit date and watch stream. Yeah. You make an excellent point. There have been a number of times that I go through and go and rewatch and go, what the heck was I thinking? Or I go, I feel like I did this. Secretly, I actually have, I'll show you this too real quick, since you mentioned it. I'm actually even worse than that. I have downloaded all of my subtitle streams from YouTube and converted them into Markdown so that I can use GitHub search to rip through them all. So if I want to actually search by text, I have to type in the text that, Google came up with when they do the automatic subtitles. But I've got subtitles for all my streams. So that's, yes, it's messed up, and yes, it's very cool. Could be tempted on a key set. Yeah, and I think we're going to end up having to expand out this rotor type only makes sense for an M3, and so I think this will need to be expanded significantly as we add in more. Does it run on your server? It actually runs, so the answer is it runs on a GitHub action. but it's an action I think I have disabled because so if you can see it here. So I had an issue with some YouTube auth. I think I fixed it now. And so I should turn it loose again. But there's just a GitHub action. And so the code that it runs is actually in the repo. So if you're interested, you can check it out and see all of the dirty stuff in there. It won't run arbitrarily because it requires to set up some secrets and whatnot. But you can see all of my ugly code. There is a bit that I do run locally that downloads my stream from Twitch, does some trimming to cut off my silence at the beginning for the countdown and whatnot, and then pushes it up to YouTube. And that I run locally. Only because the auth was a pain in the butt to try to get working on a GitHub action, and it wasn't worth the effort. Okay, so now what do we got? So let's look at what's still failing in here. So when at notch, position returns true. So what is this test doing? So this should be a 16, and then that should pass again. There we go. Okay. These all need to adjust to be this needs to be an int. Let's see. This is kind of, wait, isn't notch after stepping to notch returns true? So this is step and then goes into it. Boy, it added way too many tests. Okay, we're going to collapse this. Full expected is at notch because there's no reason to have all this garbage here. True, because we're just going to bring these guys all down. True. There we go. And then assert equal. Expected is at notch. And now we can collapse some more tests, right? Because this one does 16 and 0. So this is 16 and 16. This is, let's see, 16 and then position of 0. Yep, expected false. And then I delete this test. I don't need you anymore. 16 and 16 is a duplicated test, so this goes away. Thank you, Copilot, for writing all this. Maybe I'm a pessimist, but a secret shared is a secret lost. Did I say that wrong? I assume that's in reference to the secrets out on my GitHub repo. They are GitHub action secrets, but I believe I have my repo locked down well enough. Like you can fork it, and you don't get the secrets. So it's nothing special. Okay, this guy is expected to be failing because we need to update those characters into various values. The convenient part is it picked all the same values as before, so that's very nice. And then V is 21. A is 0. Z is 25. And then I don't know that I actually need to test all of these cases. I think I really just need those two cases. If we feed all of the subtitles into a language model, do we end up with a digital Kevin who can answer questions? Funny you should say that, Hessen. Funny you should say that. If you happen to take a look in the AI folder, there may or may not be an attempt at converting those as the source into a simple RAG. And the answer is yes, that is absolutely what you get. It was more or less a way of learning semantic kernel, which it was a very interesting way of doing it. You can find the old streams with Casey and I doing it, but yeah, There is. You do absolutely get an AI bot that answers questions kind of like me. And more importantly, our test question was, what's the best possible drink? And of course, it knew the answer was Mountain Dew. So, you know, win. Counting it as a win. Okay, so that cleans that up. Live unit testing. Are we all green now? Okay, so we are all green with the position change. Okay, great. Great. Close you. Okay, so now, actually, I didn't want to close you. I wanted to put you back over here. So now we want to change this guy up so that he actually takes in arbitrary wirings. And I think this length 26 check is wrong. I think we don't care about the length of 26. We do want is null or white space. And I think we want to assert that there are no, because we can't have empty characters. I don't think. So I think we want to assert that we don't have any white space characters. I think is what we want. If wiring any, I guess we should do C. Char dot is white space. Oh, see. Wiring cannot contain white space characters. I don't think we care about 26 characters. Wiring. I think we can just do argument null exception. Throw if null or white space wiring. So I think we can just do that first of all. Oh, this is just argument exception, isn't it? There we go. Okay, so that'll handle that. Oh, it just wants the method group. Sure, great. Method group that. Okay, so now that obviously broke some tests. So let's go look at those. Let's see. With invalid wiring throws exception. I would expect the numeric check at the very end. Technically, it will just be an index into an array of available characters, if that makes sense. I would expect the numeric check to be at the very end. What do you mean by numeric check, Izzy? Do you mean for the wiring setup so that it's A through Z, 0 through 9? Because I wasn't even gonna limit it that far of as long as you feed it a valid character set, because we're gonna add one more check at the machine level to verify that the wiring matches the length of the machine's character set. I think is the game plan. I think. You tell me if that doesn't jive with your knowledge. Let's see. This is with invalid wiring throws argument exception. And so I think all we're going to test here is we're going to go with empty string. And we're going to go with space, space, tab, space. And we're going to just leave it at that. And then we don't even need this. Because that should throw. Come on, run. That not throw. Rotor wiring. Oh, this. Yeah, we're going to have to hunt down all of those constructors, aren't we? We are going to have to hunt down. Actually, let's just do this. How many usages of. Where's it? Why is it putting my find window all the way on my other monitor? Don't want it over there. Come back over here. All right, so let's find all usages of Q because clearly Copilot got overly excited and did it in a whole mess of stuff. 16. Let's. Thank you. We're just going to hunt these suckers out. Constructor with lowercase wiring converts to uppercase. I think I want this to be a 6. So I'm actually concerned that this doesn't forward int So it's comparing on ints is the only reason this is working. So we want this to be a 16. We want this, because these are both at the same level, it's working. The check of 26 is the number of characters. So the check is at the beginning. Convert character to number, go through the machine as a number, and then at the end before the output, convert back to which point there will be a check due to the length of characters to set the array. I think I agree. And I think that's the path we're headed on, unless I'm misunderstanding something. Okay. Let's keep hunting this guy down and murdering all usages of Q. Because Q is bad. We don't want... You know, I should add this to my calamities repository. Passing characters as ints. That would be a fun little thing to do. I think that would be quite exciting. Let's see. Find Q. Keep going. There you go. What's the find next button? F8. There we go. F8. Tab. Tab. F8. F8. Tab. 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 F8. Tab. 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 Feeling it missed one. Pretty confident it did, but just go back and redo that find. Rerun. Yeah, it did miss the one. I think between my tabs and F8s. Yeah, it actually is that was part of the issue I had with my auth, is there was a little much exposed potentially. Because there is always a risk that, like, like with a GitHub action, you can always expose a secret by just like reversing the string, because its sanitation of it is basically, do I see this secret in my output? If I do, you know, start out, which is fine, but it's very easy to circumvent, especially if you're a malicious actor. Now, I will say I have abused that at times for when I've lost a secret and I needed it back. It's kind of convenient to be able to reverse a string and then, you know, have it dumped somewhere. Very, very convenient. And then you absolutely should clean up your mess afterwards. Let's see here. So we don't need... Okay, so we got a lot of constructor tests here, and we can probably, let's see, with valid parameters creates rotor, ring and position, so it's testing the overloads on the constructor, fine, and I guess not overloads, optional parameters. What does this thing set the optional parameters to do? Position and ring setting 0, that's probably fine. Oh, we need to change this. Ring setting, should actually probably validate that ring setting is within the right range as well. And actually, I guess that's true as well. So, argument out of range exception, throw if greater than wiring dot length, because if those, I guess, greater than or equal. Oh. There. And then I think we want to do the same thing for position and ring setting, because you can't have either. Position. Let's see. No. Stop it. Bad Copilot. No, Copilot. Stop it. We don't want to update them all to match. So no hard questions until I get to the coffee shop. Deal. Let's see. Key set, enigma. Oh yeah, but autocorrect is on point today. Okay, so I think we clean up some of these constructor tests here. So this is testing with defaults. This is testing with values. Great, great. Just asserting that they set. Okay, I'm going to collapse these. Fine, fine. Probably overkill. With lowercase converts to upper. That's probably fine. We haven't changed that. So we'll keep it for now. So why is forward, like forward returns an int? So it's asserting on ints. This is not a useful test. Nor do I think I care for the moment. In fact, I might even go as far as to say the rotor shouldn't auto convert to uppercase. That should be coming in from the caller. So we're going to get rid of that. So that feels like a bad test. With null or empty wiring, throws argument exception. I agree with that. Why are you not failing properly? Let's collapse you out of my way. Move. I need a C. Let's see. Assert contains substring. Wiring must contain exactly 20. Oh, so it's asserting on the message. I don't think I actually. I think what I actually care more about is that it throws on the right param name rather than the message. I think that is more what I care about. Let's see. So that failed, or passed one and failed another. Which one did I? Let's see. Argument exception, argument null exception. Does it throw differently? Does it throw a different exception type depending on... No. Is that just going to flip and do the other one? Expected argument null exception actual... Really? Okay. So this is probably assert throws any argument exception. I don't care if it's an argument null exception. There we go. That's what I care about. Okay, so with invalid wiring throws an exception. I think we could actually bring these two down here and then realize that that's a dupe and then make this guy here and then the bang there and then we delete this whole test and then we go throws any and then we change this to a lowercase and we whack all of this and we do exception.param name. Oy vey. Oy vey. I am feeling the cold. Okay. Does that get us into a working state? Okay. All tests passing. Good, good, good. The only thing we don't have a check for if wiring any, if there's a character that contains white space. So we just need to go back to our test and we need to add in one more inline data here. Hit that case. Inline data, ABC, space, DEF. Nope. And now that should show coverage. There we go. Why are we not using enums? Enums for what? Might be my question. So right now we have a fixed character set, but this is about to become dynamic. If you are referring to the wiring enum. And we were going to go through and fix this here in just a moment. So Okay, so we need to get, so this A mapping here is what is going to be the next thing that we change out. But I want to go back up to the machine level. Enigma machine, and we want to add in public high read only list char character set, maybe. Yeah. And I think for now, in the interest of simplicity, we're just gonna, no, I kind of liked what you had, I just don't like that. I think I guess I do like that for the moment. I think we're just going to do this as a starting point and then expand later. But I think that's going to be the key bit there. Okay, so what we want to then make sure of is that all rotors that come in have a wiring set. We need the wiring length exposed to us at least. Do we expose the entire wiring? I don't think we do. Let's only expose what we need for the moment. Wiring length? Wiring size? I don't know. Naming's hard. It's harder when you can't think straight. We're going to do it like that for the moment, just as a way of getting this to work. And then we want to go here, and we want to go if rotors any x, all rotors must have a wiring length equal to the character set length. There. At some point we'll make this thing configurable, but for now we'll just lock it in. That way it's there, we're coded against an arbitrary character set, but then we can go through and change it. Okay, and then I think this thing's lying to me, and I'm pretty sure if I do this, yeah. So specifically this line here where it says it's covered, I don't know. We're gonna just check and see. Yeah, so both of those are uncovered, so let's fix those. Let's see, collapse, collapse, collapse. All these null checks are kind of dumb. That's not dumb, that's not dumb. So, but let's do this. Fact, public, void. Throws argument exception. Let's see. We'll do, actually, there's the reflector. We're gonna just rename this to rotor 1, rotor 2, and then clean these up. Rotor 1, rotor 2. And then we'll do that because it is less than 3 throws. Why are you not yelling? What's the failure? What's the failure? Constructor, argument out of range exception. Okay, so I'm just testing the wrong one. Argument out of range exception. There we go. Great. Okay, now we want to do fact. Public void constructor with rotor with different wiring length. Those argument exception. Okay, Copilot, you were trying to help, but if you're gonna help, actually help. There we go. Okay. Now we should be covered. There we go. Okay, that makes me feel better. This is one of those things that this is the type of problem that lends itself really, really, really well to unit testing, and so I'm going to unit test the snot out of this to make sure I am confident that it is working. I do wonder why we need a plug board passed in. Huh. Interesting. I guess it works. I guess it works. And then the reflector, we have the built-in ones. Yeah. This we will need to change as well. We will come back to the reflector on the other side after we've gotten this done. Okay, so so we need to change this up a little bit for the encryption, because this is where we now need to deal with the character set, because this is a string and it just feeds into the encrypt char. Okay, and so let's start at the rotor and work our way up, because this is wiring index minus A. I'm actually a little surprised. Oh, this thing is still modding by 26, and we don't want it to mod by 26. We want it to mod by wiring length. So wiring length. And I think we're going to rename this from mod 26 to just mod. Oh, it's static. I can't do that. Okay. Wiring length plus wiring length. Wiring length, the additional. Okay. So the result is always 0 to wiring length. Okay. That gets us to there. That gets us to there. That gets us to here. This becomes wiring length. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I just have you and you to deal with, right? I think so. And all the tests are still passing. I guess this is of the rotor. Get rid of those. Those are misleading. Get rid of those. Okay. So when we pass the signal forward through, this character is still making a bad assumption here. Because the output is grabbing. And I think this is your comment, Izzy, about go through the machine as a number and then come back out. Because right now, wiring is still a string and or array of characters, and it's being treated as such. And so, because we are shifting those things through, it is working, but it will fall over the moment that doesn't match. The fact that we have no test failing kind of bothers me. Trying to think of a way to write a test that fails it. Like I could write a test that runs like a numeric value through, and that will assuredly give me a failure because the index of is not going to match. Well, I guess this index of will be fine. But it'll give me very, very different values. So what's the way to handle this properly? Because it seems like converting wiring over to an array of ints might be better. That might be better if it were an array of ints. Is that the right answer? That might be the solution, because if this were an array of ints, this problem becomes significantly easier. I don't have to do this minus a garbage anymore, or plus a. Like, this literally just becomes forward, back, right? Letter is just shifted index, right? I don't have to do any conversion, because this conversion here is all to go between number and letter. So that, I'm coming all the way around to what you said, Izzy. I think I like it. Is if we switch immediately to a, I don't even think we do this to upper. I think that's a bad idea. I think we require the caller to pass in the right values. And oh good, that failed a test. But I think what we actually want to do here is int input value gets character set index of input. I think this is functionally what we want. And this is not going to work because it needs. So let's make this private for the moment, because I don't want to think too hard about the API of it yet. We can expose it more in a minute. I'm just going to do that for the moment. And this needs to be length. We'll need to expose some way to set this at some point, but that'll get us to there. This gets us to input value. What's the test that's failing? Mixed case converts to upper. Okay, so that I think is better. It's failing and returning back the original string because the code in here expects the input value to be what's modified. Yeah, so it's not actually like doing anything of interest here. So if less than a, return the original character. Is that really what we want to do, or do we want to throw in a range exception? I feel like if you try to encrypt a character that's not in the character set, you just get an exception. That feels more exception worthy. I don't like the caller shouldn't be feeding in characters that aren't in the character set. Throw new argument exception. And I think what we want to do is actually show the character set. Join I actually want to do empty. Oh, but I can't do that. I got to do string. Yeah, got it. Okay. So we'll do that, because if you don't feed in something valid, which handles that case there. Okay, and then we got to get rid of input here. And I guess this is actually just position now, because we don't need that. And then this goes here. So that cleans that up. Now it has this last conversion down here. And I think we just return back character set sub position, because there shouldn't be a way to get back a value that's out of range here. Every value that comes back from this has to be in that set. Okay, I think that works. There's some failing tests, but I'm hoping they're the yeah, they're all hitting our new thingy, which is perfect. Right? Let's see here. So this test here preserves encrypt. Ooh. That makes a good point. If you pass in ooh, maybe we should return back the value if it's not found. Just for the case of spaces. Like, I realize the original machine didn't do this. But it does feel nicer when you get this thing back. Hmm. We're going to do return input for the moment. Izzy, I'm curious on your thoughts on that. If the call to encrypt for a character gets passed in, and the character isn't part of the machine's character set, what should happen? Should the character just be returned back? And the example here is Hello World, right? Where it has a space and an exclamation point at the end, where the space and exclamation point are not part of the character set. Should it throw an exception or return back the character unchanged? Because it obviously can't convert it. Right? And I think this, I guess we don't actually care that much, right? It is just testing to make sure that those two things exist. Okay. With mixed case converts to uppercase. I don't think we are going to do that. Now I'm torn. Now I'm torn if maybe I should do maybe I should do input. Oh, see, now I'm putting back all the stuff that I just got rid of. And that makes all the tests pass. To do. Do we just parked out. Brain dump incoming. Okay. I'll wait for your brain dump and then I'll decide how much of a to do I'm putting in. This makes the test pass. I'm just not sure if it's the right behavior. I'm not sure if it's the right behavior. We'll leave that there. But that at least got us out of the A through Z bits set. Okay, let's fix plugboard next. No, let's finish out rotor. Let's finish out rotor because we still have these guys here. And I think what we want to do is we want to have the rotors have a mapping from characters, I think is what we want. Because I think I want this to be an int array. I think that's actually what I want. But I might leave myself some debug display attributes in here so that it, even though it's an int array, so that I can look at it and have it read off its letters, because I think that'll make debugging significantly easier. I think. Yeah. Okay. So if we go that route, answer the question. Exception if invalid character. In a physical device, that's not possible as you're pressing keys. The only link to the letters is what is printed on the key and the light at the end of the machine. Okay. See, and I think that is a better behavior, is this throw. In which case the test is just wrong. But I think I'm okay with that. Because it does, in my opinion, make slightly more sense that if you don't have a valid character. And I think that also means that we shouldn't do the conversion to uppercase. I think. And just expect the caller to only feed us characters that make sense. right? And if they want to convert to uppercase on the way in, so be it. But I think that makes our life slightly easier as well. I think. Encrypt with invalid characters throws argument exception. And so act assert throws argument exception. Could probably just be a const string, so enigma key set would be A to Z. The rest of the machine is just swapping the index into that key set. Yeah, I agree there. We're gonna just do that, and then I don't know if I actually need to assert on anything out of that. I think if it just throws, that's good enough. Could just be a const string, so enigma key set would be A to Z. The rest of the machine is just swapping. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm prepping for up here. Is right now I'm just doing a constant character array, and then this will get configurable one step at a time. One step at a time. Let's see here. This is not correct. This should be hello world, and then this should return this. Casing irrelevant. I would expect UI to do conversion as it is the input device. The machine just knows A to Z without casing. Okay, I agree. Enigma. That should be there. Like that, and that should go green now. Okay. So that now matches expectations. Where were you questioning plugboard in the constructor? Yeah. It was just because this. And I was curious why the plugboard was put in as optional. As the plugboard could be different types. No, I agree. It surprised me that, and again, I blame myself for not reviewing Copilot's work closer. That it made the reflector required and the plugboard optional. But it's optional only because it's going to plug it in here. And it's not like we do it. It only did this to make its unit testing easier. So I don't know, it felt weird. Yeah. But by default, they were all the same. Okay, yeah. Again, it's totally fine for now. Yes, plugboard does have an index mapping, and that is on my list of things to go change next. But I want to get the rotor one fixed first. With non-letter. So what is this doing? Encrypt character returns unchanged. This whole test is wrong. There. Fix the test by deleting it. Okay, so that gets me through all of those, and we're back into a happy green state. Nope. We are still failing one. Complete encryption decryption with complex settings. Okay, so this needs to drop this. For people who don't realize, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog is a common string that gets used because it has all 26 letters of the alphabet in it. So if you ever need a short sentence with all 26 letters of the alphabet, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog will get you there. Let's see. Variable decoration can be deconstructed. What? What are you? Oh, yuck. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. That is much less readable. Okay, now we're back in a green state. Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to change up this. Because this rotor here, if we don't include tests, the only practical implementation is these calls here. And I think what we can do, let's see, the plug board by default is a semi-rotor as it had 8 plugs. My version 1 allows for 13. My version 2 allows multiple characters to be part of a chain of mappings. Oh, dear heavens, Izzy. We're going back to the mad scientist suggestion. I think you are the mad scientist. Dear heavens, why make it so complicated? It only took experts how long to crack it during World War II, and I think you have made their life very, very difficult. Okay. Oh, and I left that sitting around. But I think what I want to do is, why not? Well, you did say you were going to fix all of the mistakes of the past. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the interpretation I took. Because these here, right? Because E ends up being a 4 numerically, because this is really the index into the character set, right? Of what this ends up mapping to. So index 0 on the character set maps to 4 here, right? That's all this ends up being. And so I'm thinking what might be nice, let's pull this out into its own type. Public static class character sets. What was the word you used, Izzy? Was it enigma character set? Enigma key set. One key set, and then I think we're just gonna do this. And then this will just be, for now, key sets, enigma key set to character array. Okay, so we'll just do that for now. Obviously, we'll let this key sets as on the machine they are keys, typewriter keys to be pedantic. Right. I remember that when was it this one here? Yeah, because this picture here is the one that I now have in my head. Oh, that's tiny, right? These little things. Those are the typewriter keys, and then these are the lights that light up. Trying to remember which. Ooh, boy, that's big. Doesn't say which variant this is. But I think we do this, and then let's go into rotor. And I think rather than rotor type, I almost want to rename this to Enigma 1. I think is nicer, because then the API is rotor.enigma1.i.2.3.4.5, etc. And then I think inside of here, it's the same as to make the rotors turn. Izzy, you are assuming that I'm of a particular age. So I want you to know, I think I've used a typewriter 3 times in my life. My parents had one for a little bit, and then like I have these vague memories of making the little plunky noises, and then the whole idea of a carriage return was very fun with the little ding. It was basically a lever. See, lever makes sense. But I think once we rename this to Enigma 1, now I don't mind changing this out to an int array rather than a string. So I think what we're going to do is int array here. That's going to break stuff. That's going to absolutely break stuff, especially when I do this. And then we don't have anything here. We don't have anything here. And then we will throw an argument null exception. Will it? Does this ever take an int? No. I wish it had an overload for arrays. How about throw if null? And we won't worry too much about checking the length here, because once you try to put the rotor into the machine checks to verify that the wiring length matches the character set. So I'm less concerned with if it's non-null, you can instantiate the rotor, but the moment you try to put the rotor into a machine, you're going to have a problem. Okay, so that gets me to there. I now have to fix these because I think I like this guy here. But I think what I want is something like private static rotor from character set string character mapping int position int ring set. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the mapping down here, and then just down here it'll end with return new rotor, you know, something. Oh, we need notch. Right, this will be notch position ring set, and then I can just have all these other ones just call into this function and be done with it. And so here we can do key sets, enigma key set, right? So string key set, and then I guess this is actually char. Actually, can I just index? I can, so I don't even need that. So can I just do character mapping select x dot index of x to array. Wiring. And I can just do wiring. Because we iterate through the character map. So, for example, E, look into the character set, find the index of E, which in this case will come back with a 4. Rename, don't care. Use collection expression. Sure, great. And then that just maps out, and we're off to the races. And then this just becomes from character set, from character set, from character set, from character set, from character set. And I don't mind doing it here like this, because this at least gets me a reasonable spot. All right, that way I can have something that's mildly readable, and then this goes here. Okay, we obviously aren't building. Are we building? Didn't look like it. There's probably a, oh yeah, because I just broke everything. With different wiring lengths. So this is, for example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let's find the other ones. Maybe I should put that logic somewhere I can share it. Because this is kind of convenient. And actually, key sets is probably not a bad place to put it. Public static. It's probably better to put it on rotor itself. I think that would make more sense. Public static int get wiring. That way, yeah. Do you like two mapping or two wiring better? Let's see. String. Let's do key set string. Wiring is good. Okay. Because I kind of feel like if I just do this, then I can leverage it in the tests as well. And this becomes just key set. Right? So that gets me to there. And then this just becomes wiring. And we will pass key sets enigma 1 and then character mapping. And now we don't have to do any of that. And then more importantly, back in the other failures, I can just leverage the same static to make my life a happy place. So wiring, order get wiring. And then we will do key sets enigma 1, something like that. That's a good question, Izzy. Maybe. I get a little twitchy on internals visible too. But maybe yeah, let me think. Maybe. Usually I find that internals visible too often indicates that there is a problem with the API. And if I can clean up the API so that it either makes sense to be public or otherwise, it's better. But yeah, there is, like, that's an idealistic way of thinking, and it doesn't always pragmatically work. Okay, let's get all of you here. Target type new. I like a little better in that situation. Whoop. That one. Let's see. Target type new, because happiness. There. At least we'll end up with a slightly cleaner test code. I find it very ironic that Copilot does the best when it doesn't have to look at its own generated code, which I just, the irony on that is not lost on me. And then if we go, boom, go, and only a handful more. Oh, gotta use the right clipboard mapping. Okay. Gets us a lot closer. Oh, wrong keyboard. Okay. Let's see. That mapping is specific to the rotor. Only use internals visible to for related tests. It just depends if it should be public or not. but private things make testing hard. Yeah, and that's one of the things where it's like, it's clearly like, the other thing is one could make an argument that there's probably a internal function or a private function that exists, and then maybe a duplicated one in the testing library, because by virtue of the fact that they're that both the code using them is, if one ever gets out of sync with the other, they will immediately start failing. Like, that's a potential other argument, because sometimes duplication is actually okay. Like, it's very easy to always want to go dry and not repeat yourself. But there's, I think it's Big Ball of Mud calls it out that things that rev together should be kept together. And just because you have duplication now, if things rev at different rates, yeah, I guess rotor could be an interface with a get wiring method. Yeah, and yeah, it feels like there's another turn of the crank on this API at least. Like, I agree that this is probably not a good final API state, and we might want, and there's probably something more to do here. Because I could see there's not a lot of well-designed .NET Enigma like SDK NuGet packages out there. I don't know if you'd ever want to publish it, but it feels like that's something that could be a thing. Ooh, this one's going to be interesting. This one I can't do like this. This one I have to do like this. And does this make sense anymore? Because really, the only invalid one at this point is null, because we aren't checking anything else. So really all I want to do is this. I don't want it to be a theory anymore, because we're going to validate it against the counts on when it gets plugged into the machine. And actually, you know what it probably should do? Hang on. I know I just said that I didn't want this to be a theory, but I'm now realizing one of the things that we are not testing that we probably should is there should be no element in the wiring array that is less than 0 or greater than the array's length. Yeah, we should not have argument exception, throw if, argument out of range exception, throw if negative, right? So we will do wiring. Why didn't I do throw if negative on the other ones? Oh, you can't do throw if negative. Ha! Okay. Throw if less than, let's see. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm an idiot. Yeah, it would be interesting from an R&D perspective. Well, yes, we'll get it working, and if we want to, it's probably worth doing an API review before actually like publishing any NuGet packages, just to see. I mean, people could always clone the repo if they're that eager. It's just a NuGet package makes everybody's life so much simpler. This is not what I want, because I don't want. I actually want to do if wiring any x less than 0 or x greater than wiring dot length, then I want to throw. Argument exception. Hey, Copilot, fill in the message for me. Come on. Let's see. Wiring values must be between 0 and the maybe mapping's a better word. I'm just noticing whenever it's hard to write error messages, it means that you probably named something wrong, and now I'm wondering if mapping might be better. Think about it. But it does mean that here I now want to do an inline data where I pass in something like a -1. Right? What is your problem here? Oh, so I actually have to go new int -1. One of the few times where, because attribute values have to be constant and arrays are typically not constants, they can be in this case if all of their values are constants. Kind of wacky. Let's see, 0, 1, 2, 4. All right, just something to catch both sides. And then, oh, this thing is throwing an argument exception without specifying the parameter name. Don't like that. Name of wiring. That should fix the test, I think. Go green. Ooh. Broken a lot of stuff. Excuse me. Okay. Let's go back here. So what is actually failing here? Oh, good test. Caught a bug. Because 4 doesn't make sense. 0, 1, 2, 3. But I did greater than, not greater than or equal to. So that is a bug. There. That test now goes green. Great. Okay. Yeah, so these are now all broken because we have not addressed down here. So this should not be... I don't think I need output here. I think this goes away and this just becomes index. I don't think I need letter here. Index of shifted input. I think. But what do I know? Tests are failing, so that's clearly not the exact value. So let's look at the failing test. So let's see. Rotor Enigma 1. Let's see here. And we have position 5, ring setting 2. And it iterates through and goes forward and back, expecting that it can get back the same value that it sent through. So what did I do wrong here? What's another failing test? Forward at position 0. A sub 0 should map to E, position 4, based on wiring. Okay, this test seems like an easy one to look at. So, expected for actual 0. Okay, so let's just debug this test. Since my head is congested and I can't think straight, this is obviously going to be a something's a little wonky. Okay, Test Explorer, you're in my way. Where you at? Pause somewhere. There we go. Okay, so we've got our rotor. Let's just do a quick gander in at the wiring. 4, 10. K is 10. C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. L, M. Makes sense. F. Okay, so it looks kind of right. D is 2. J is 9. Okay. That seems appropriate. Okay, so we go from position. 0, ring setting 0. So put 0 minus 0. Great. Input is 0 plus shift is 0. So index ends up at 0. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm an idiot. I see it. I see it now. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Undo, 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 undo. Redo. Okay. This is wiring index. And this is not letter. This one should just be, I believe, shifted, because this is A plus to do it. Yeah. There we go. There we go. This is why we have tests. See that? All those green checks. Oh, so happy. Oh, so happy. Okay. Okay, so we have converted this guy away from characters into using ints. So it's numeric all the way through with this fancy little from character set, get wiring doohickey going on. So that gets us all the way into there. That makes me feel a little better. We could even go as far as to do a mapping with this so I don't have to have my comments, but whatever, that's a different problem. Let's go into the reflector now, because this is the other one. This is another place where we want to do int wiring. Int wiring. So throw if null, absolutely want to check that there. We aren't going to check the length. So this goes away. And we are not going to do this upper thingy-mabobber. That goes away. Okay, so that gets us to there. And I think we just drop the minus A here. And then we need the same mapping here. Don't we? Ah, so that's leading me to believe that maybe the wiring, the get wiring function should be on key set, not on rotor. Because in both cases, yeah, that makes me suspect I should put it on key set. That almost makes me want to redo key set so that it has, and let's move key sets. Rather than having key set returning a string, I'm somewhat tempted to have it return something more strongly typed. That's making me think we want to do that. Because now I come in here and I go key sets, get wiring. And I don't know if the get wiring makes sense. I think it's get wiring from character map. I think it's something more like that. I think that I think it's more like that. Because now we come in here and this guy becomes and I think reflector type I want to rename to enigma 1 as well. so that that reads nicer. And then this becomes key sets get wiring from character mapping. Key sets enigma 1 key set much for my multi-keyboard setup. Okay. I'm guessing we must have test failures. Yep. Get wiring from character map. Let's see. Yeah, because I am wondering if maybe the key set shouldn't just be a string and instead should be something more strongly typed. Let's see. The lowercase doesn't make sense anymore. That goes away. Mixed case doesn't make sense anymore. That goes away. And actually, I want the same checks on my reflector that we just did on the rotor. So I actually want the same. This guy should be the same here. So I actually want to do this. And then I want to go to the Enigma machine and make sure that we check the reflector on the way in. Let's see, if reflector, we need to expose its wiring length. Let's see here. Because we want to make sure that it matches. If reflector dot wiring length, that needs to throw as well. Okay, let's go back into the test and get them compiling. This test needs to match what we did for the rotor test. And actually, I'm just going to do a Control F here, and it's going to be key set. What's the call? Copy. Replace all. That'll fix all of those up. And then I want the constructor test that I just did. I basically want something akin to this for the reflector as well. Because this is actually what we want. And then this doesn't need to be there. Then we throw this away. That's the actual test that matters. I don't think we need this test anymore. We test on the other side. Okay. And we're gonna just change these up as we go. I think I have this guy on my mapping. Oh, I need to do key sets, Enigma 1 key set. Yeah, because I'm thinking if I made key sets return a strong type rather than string, the get wiring from character map then goes on that strong type. I think that would be the final turn of the crank that then ends on a nicer API. And then it all makes sense. Okay, so that gets it to there. We're compiling again. Great. That's fine. Tests green, except for this one. Constructor with null reflector throws argument null exception. Didn't throw an argument null exception? Ooh. It's because we need to do our argument null exception. Throw off null because before it was being checked here. But we need to check it before we check against the length, and then we need to add a test to make sure that if you pass in a reflector with an invalid wiring length, it doesn't work. Where did we do? So we created a rotor. Yeah, we want basically this test. Here. Constructor with reflector with different wiring length throws argument exception. So we are going to not do this. We are going to grab these, the rotors. Then we will do new reflector. And then we will just feed it an invalid wiring, which will be something like 0, 1, 2. And that should then throw appropriately. Hey, cutie, welcome. How's the project coming? It is going well. We have a working Enigma machine, and we are slowly fixing all of Izzy's comments with live unit testing, which makes it more epic. Okay, so I think we commit before I get too carried away. Just double check my work real quick before I get carried away. Yeah, renames. We did the character set. Did the -1 check. Yep. Just making sure I didn't leave any extra like debugging code in here or something. I don't doubt there's probably more to fix, but that's probably going pretty well. An Enigma machine, yes. Like this. Specifically, so Izzy's actually building a physical hardware one. We're just making the software one for him. And at some point, we're going to do some cool 3D models inside of it so that you can see like the exploded view of how all the connections work in it. Because the intent is to make this a STEM learning tool. So that's the end goal. Right now we're just making the code not suck. Okay, so Gemini, write me a thing. Yeah, Izzy gets the points for being the mad scientist who makes the hardware stuff and make it go. I'm just a code monkey. A code monkey who is trying to not die from a cold. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Gemini. That looks great. Okay, what else you got? What else you got for me, Izzy? Here. Yep. Don't need to make it a backlog. Might be worth defining a machine type which creates the required rotors, reflector, and plugboard implementations, and have it configure. So I think this one is already actually done, Izzy. I don't know if you're actually watching or not, but there is a static factory method down at the bottom for creating the Model 1, which does the setup with the kind of expected outputs. I'm not thrilled. Oh, thank you. Ironically, I went out to a fundraiser event over the weekend, and I was around a couple hundred people, and so I have a strange suspicion one of them was kind enough to share with me. And yes, Izzy, definitely send pictures, because I will happily pull them up on stream and do it. So yeah, so there is this static constructor, and I think that's probably for the various machine types. I think what we'll end up with is some sort of kind of, it may not continue to live on the Enigma machine class, but I think we will end up with some sort of factory ones for building out all of the common ones. I don't know that we necessarily need to pass in a machine type and have it configure from that, but I think absolutely having, which comment is that? So this is the one on Enigma Machine CS. So it's slightly old compared to what's in here now, but it was on the main constructor. And so at the bottom of the file, we actually have, if we get all the way down there, we actually have these factories and whatnot. And so making these things into an enum or similar so that they aren't passed in as strings, I think is like that. I think we'll go through and do. Yeah, this sort of looks like it could be used to define the machine type. Oh, I see what you're saying. Machine type is... I have a different idea now, but it can wait for later. Okay. Though I think I now understand your comment on machine type. You're thinking machine type is effectively a configuration object that kind of holds all of this stuff together. I think that's possible. I may say let's push that for second round of the crank though. But I want to see if I can get through the rest of your comments. I didn't think I would spend an entire stream going through your comments. Though I will admit I didn't look at how many comments you left before thinking that. So how many rotors, key sets, etc. Yeah. Hey, Copilot, switch over. And actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to push. That way I can start marking some comments as resolved as they're fixed. So, done. Comment and resolve. And then this one here, done. Comment, resolve. Let's see, I believe the correct term is encode, decode. I think you are correct. That's an easy thing. Though I will say, I think encode is probably a better name. We don't actually have a decode because it's the same thing. But I do think switching from encrypt to encode is probably perfectly fine. I think that name is actually better. Okay. That goes like that. That goes like that. I'm just going to do a quick search because I think I'm not going to worry about the ones in the example, but I do want to change a handful of the other ones. Or decodes a single character. I think there's another one. Yeah, I think there's a handful of these. That's why I'm gonna hunt it by text. Encode, decode, and we're gonna get rid of the A to Z set because that's no longer accurate. The encoded. Decoded character. Here we go. We're just gonna grab some. I'm getting lazy and running out of steam. Encodes and decodes. Next to encode, decode, coded, text. There we go. Yeah, another comment like that. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll kill both these comments in one push. But I do want to just make sure because I think there's enough. I think there's a handful of tests that are going to have the name in it as well, and I want to make sure. Okay, do that. And then encode, encode, and actually encoded. I think I can do. I think I can do this. I think I can do encrypts, match by case to encoded place. And then I think with those ones gone, I can replace this match by case with encode. Boom. And then I can do the same thing here. Encodes. That's the only one. Okay. And then if we do capital, okay. So now we redo the search. Collapse. Collapse. Kill that one. Let's see, encoded. Decoded. Let's see, those ones I don't count. We'll change the UI as well to make it match. There we go. Okay. Refresh search. Don't care about the get ignore. Don't care about the examples. Don't care about the striker output. Okay, great. Boom, boom, boom. Knocked out another one. Okay, push, and then go back to the PR, and we'll go renamed comment. Resolve. Renamed comment. Resolve. Load more conversations. Some of these may... Let's see here. Wondering if there's a better way to do this so we could separate. That would be more generic. Yes. Yep. It up when converting to the list of routers. Check out the new implementation. Sorry, I realize I'm typing below the horizon line. My mistake. There we go. Resolve conversation. Look at this. We're just knocking it out. Yeah, let's look at that get rotor positions. I want to check that function, but I think it's fixed. This is still relying on A. So we should clean this up. But it's only here. Yeah, so this actually ends up needing to be for each rotor. We don't want character A. We want to change this to character set sub rotor position. Right, and I've got too many parens now. Tests all still pass. Great. Do this and look at this. See, now that we got the hard stuff out of the way, now the comments are all easy. Now it's all easy. Yeah, sure, send it. Cool. Oh man, I might need some more quality horizontal time. Let's see. Comment. Resolve. Would this be worth making an enum? Yeah. So, Izzy, when I was reading, and correct me because this is just for my own edification here. The sleep, yes, or at least some non-standing time. Ignore those ones. New idea probably trumps it. Okay, I'll ignore it. The comment here, when I was reading, I thought what I read is the first variant that had 5 rotors was created, I want to say around 1937 and used up through like 42, 43. And after that, that's when they added in the additional 8 possible rotors. And I thought, if I was reading correctly, it started off that it was only the Navy that had them, and I could be mixing stuff. I've watched enough history YouTube videos. I've got different facts flowing in and out. Like, I never did good at history when you had to memorize stuff, but like I could usually get the flows. But yes. Yeah, I will ignore the comments down in this factory area because I do agree we need a better way of factory creating these suckers. Yeah, I believe the original one was a banking one before the military stole it. Okay, I now that you say that, I do vaguely remember something about, or was it invented by a banker or something? Like I've got mixing things in my head. Okay, I will ignore that. Let's see. Wondering if this should be templated to specify how many cables can be used. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, because the plug board, I think what we have currently doesn't limit what you can do. And we should probably... Yeah, I guess the very first one probably had 5 set rotors, but then the military made 8 possible ones. Okay. And actually, now with this plug board here, what are you thinking then for this, Izzy? Because you said the plug board you were making, you could actually chain connections together versus the original where it was literally just a letter swap. Because this one here, I'm tempted to refactor to make this more... Because this is... this is working, and it's working wrongly. That's really dumb. That's really, really dumb. This is once again working by the virtue of the fact that there are... okay, so this... Okay, I can't stand this anymore. This needs to be fixed. This needs to not be... This needs to not be characters. These needs to be ints. So yeah, I guess I'm curious what you are hoping to see here, because right now it's being modeled with a simple dictionary, but if you have the ability to map more than a straight 1-to-1, this isn't going to be a sufficient modeling for that. Let's see. But my V2 would allow A to B, B to G, G to K, K to A. Oh, so you could actually get all the way back to the original. Okay. In that situation, though, a dictionary still works. And I guess a dictionary would have to work because for any given letter, it can only map to at most one other letter. You're just allowing cycles, whereas before the originals didn't allow that, because you couldn't, once you put a wire into one of the letters, you couldn't map it again. For my V2, think of it as taking an array of int. Yeah, and I think this still works for any given letter. Yeah, it's just taking the mapping of indices. Okay. I think this still works, but we're going to change this up. I don't know if letter is correct. And this is just a try get if map swap. Great. This needs to be and I think what we're going to do is position. Position swaps the position if it's connected in the plug board, swaps the position. So hold on. What is now the difference between these? This function doesn't need to exist. That function goes away completely. This needs to come in as something more like a params collection of int. Connections. Something of that nature. We don't care. You can't get a null into that. So we don't care about that. I don't care about that. The concept of a pair length not equal to 2 doesn't exist anymore. The only rule... Okay. Oy vey. Okay. Connections. This becomes... We can deconstruct this guy. Var source destination. All right, so we can do that maneuver. Thank you, cutie. Thank you. Like I said, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. So if the source is already in there, we don't check destination to match your pattern, Izzy. Position already connected source. And then this just becomes I think we just do connections, source gets destination. Because now we can do exactly your pattern that you have there. A to B, B to G, G to K, K to A. Because every letter can be at most one source. Because there's no way for a letter to be a source of multiple other letters, because how would you know which way to plumb them? But you can chain them together. Okay, that makes me feel much more warm and fuzzy. Now, all the things that I've inevitably broke, but we've got... let's see, this is wrong. Pairs of positions into the machine's key set. Okay. Where'd my error window go? Huy vey. Dying here. Okay. So this one is custom example, which is great. But this would end up being what? 0 to 1. And then, yeah. Something like that. Thank you, Copilot. Don't let people hear me say nice things about you. You might get used to it. Let's see, plugboard pairs. I don't know that this is actually being called with plugboard pairs yet. So let me do... What's the path of least resistance? Rams, int array. I think that's the path of least resistance. See how many errors come from that. Let's see. Rebuild. Code char. That is a lie. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Does it really even need to be letters, numbers at all? Just a generic T with values mapped to an index, basically. Ah, yeah. So you are probably, Victor, drawing memories of a particular sorted list collection that I built for a particular product that both of us may have worked on that did exactly that, where it effectively maintained indexes into an arbitrary collection of things so that it had what was it, log base 2 of n lookup speed into it. I think in this case I'm perfectly happy with it being numbers in the positions, only because the machine itself, as we've defined it, like the domain of this is you're feeding in a key press and you're getting another value back out. So at least in this case, the domain is always going to be key press matching character light. And so I think I'm fine with it being number based all the way through, because at the end of the day, it is just like the entire Enigma machine was just math, really bloody complicated math with combinations measuring into the number of pieces of sand on the seashore type size numbers, but it was big, very big. But you're right, it could theoretically go one step further and be genericized. I just don't think I want a plug board of T and then having to derive, like, because what I would end up with is something like plug board of int, right? Just to pass this through. It was just a complicated light switch. Yes, Izzy, that may be underselling it a little bit. Yeah. Just a complicated light switch. I feel like that's like calling a modern day computer a complicated light switch, but yes. Yeah, no, you're right, Victor, because that is ultimately what it ends up being, is this whole idea of mapping letters to numbers is because the numbers are really just the values flowing through, and the original Enigma got away with the assumption, like the original implementation that Copilot wrote got away with the assumption that there was only 26 and that they were all uppercase and all based around this premise of that's what the original one only did. It's just because Izzy's a crazy mad scientist and decided he wants to fix and make something that was already incredibly complicated back in the 1940s, bring up that level of complication to modern day insanity. I think that's probably close. So this set is probably going, so we just want to allow this thing to grow because we know at least at a minimum, we're going to be adding in numerics in here as well to be able to go 0 through 9, because we have the advantage of modern computing. And unfortunately, the people of World War II did not have that advantage. So we can do things that they could only dream of, which makes our life a little bit easier. Okay, where were we? I lost my place. This one. Okay, so plugboard pairs. This guy here, I think we're just going to comment out because he doesn't need to exist. He is sample code and ultimately going to be deleted. So I'm not going to waste my time refactoring it because that sounds like work and I don't actually need this code long term. So you guys don't matter. Next. Okay, so this one creates valid machine. Does this thing ever return null? This is a stupid test. Okay. Brendo, I get probably butchering that name. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Let's see. Plugboard pairs of empty. That doesn't need to exist. Plugboard pairs. Okay, so what is this? Encoding with identical settings produces identical outputs. Okay, so this is an easy mapping here because what I have is 0 and 1, and then what I have is 2 and 3. So that goes away. And then I just replicate the same manner down here. And then why are you unhappy? Oh, because it's using named parameters, so I have to declare it as an array. Okay. Normally with a params, you don't have to do this because it'll fill it in, but if you're using a name parameter, it needs to know where the value ends, and it interprets the comma as the end of it, just like it would here. That's exciting. Okay, settings, plugboard pairs. Okay, so now you've made my life hard. Now you've made my life hard. Oh, I just realized what this is doing. Oh, that's so dirty. So what it has done is this guy here is a value tuple. And so it's kind of using a value tuple as an anonymous type just so it can reuse them here and here. That's just weird. That's just weird. Okay. But in order to get this thing to work, right? So it's making sure that what you encode with Enigma Machine 1 could be decoded with Enigma Machine 2 if it has the same settings, which is basically how it worked during World War II, right? Like, you had one set of people that encoded a message. They then got the message in the appropriate Enigma Machine settings to receiving party. As long as they configured their machine with the same settings, running the ciphertext back through reversed it. See, it's very easy. It's just like those little notes that you used to pass when you were kids where we all just did the little letter cipher and we just shifted all the letters over one, right? Thinking that we were so clever. This is just that, only with a lot of extra math and a lot of extra thinking involved. Because I know I wasn't the only one who did that when I was younger. Okay, but I need to get this plugboard pairs mapped appropriately. So that goes like that. That goes like that. And now I need to do some mapping. So 0, 4. Copilot, can you figure it out? Pretty please? Okay. Hoi vey. Where's my C# interactive? Let's see. Let's just do these. F is 5. Oh, I guess I should have known that. A, B, C, D. Wait. This is wrong. See, this is why I don't do math. I was like, F doesn't come after D. Okay, C# interactive, and then we will do a T. I realize, here, let me move this where people can actually see what's going on. Sure, fine, we'll do it there. That's fine. Let's see. T is 19. And then, let's see, G, I don't think we have yet. So, G, G is 6. Guess I could have gotten that from F. W is going to be a letter at the very end. Like 22. Need to quit doing that. Hey, look at that. Look at that. I can count backwards on my alphabet. I actually have a friend who, let's see, there's no target type for the collection expression. Fine. Let's see. New int. Who, I think he was getting his appendix out or something, and a nurse bet him that he couldn't say the alphabet backwards when he came out of surgery. And shocking to her, when he came out of surgery, he had, for whatever reason, he had spent a great deal of time memorizing the alphabet backwards. And when he came out of the anesthesia, he actually did recite the alphabet backwards while coming out of anesthesia. And so the nurse walked in and handed his mom a candy bar and said, here, he earned this. He just can't have it right now, which I thought was hysterical. So, yeah, it turns out you can, in fact, do it backwards. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, completely. It was one of those. It was kind of a weird thing because I wasn't in the room. I showed up later because I don't remember. W X Y, so 24. And so I got to hear the story from his mom later when he had the. Oh, did you want to fill it out for me, Copilot? What are the odds Copilot just got that right? Now, the fact that it ended on 1 and 4 means I know it's wrong already. Like, I know it's just made crap up. So that's really exciting. But let's start spot checking some of these, because I would not be surprised if it got part of the way through before it, lost its mind. Yeah, it's immediately wrong. Okay, so we're just going to throw away everything it did, because it's an idiot. Because that is how we roll. That is how we roll. Yeah, exactly. Silly Copilot's one way to put it. Moronic, idiotic, dumb Copilot is another way of putting it. But, if I was smart, I would have probably left myself a function to do this, but I didn't need it in the machine itself. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs. K, the best letter of the alphabet. I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Actually, it's one up from J. But I nuked which one J was. So it's 10. And then K, L, M, N, O. 14. I can't do math. I need horizontal time. I need horizontal time. Yeah, I was right. It was 14. Dang it. Gotta learn to trust my counting. Let's see. J, K, L. I can't do the math. I can't. I should be able to. I just can't. Let's see. 11. P, I know I should just be able to add up and do math and do it, but brain power is short right now, and so we're doing this the hard way. And I'm realizing as I'm almost done with this that I didn't need to do any of this, because all this is validating is that it can do some of the mappings, and I don't even know how many of these. What? Oh, right. See, this is why I don't know why I instinctively thought that was correct. Wait. N is 13. N is the first letter. Wow. Okay, Z I think I can do in my head. Nope, can't even do Z. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. See, this is how bad I am right now. I can't even remember the alphabet. Oh boy, oh boy. This is the last refactor we're doing, and then I am going to crash because I need to be conscious for tomorrow. I will say I wrote up some directions for a project I'm on at work, and step 9 involved delete the production database, and I remember reading it and going, "There's probably something wrong with this." So I'm sure my team will have questions for me, because there's no way that goes wrong. I'm surprised you have not gone to writing a code generator to build a helper class. Yeah, things get 1,000 times harder when you're sick. 100%. 100%. Like, Monday I worked, and then Tuesday I woke up and I'm like, I just can't. Like, no, I think I pushed myself too hard on Monday. So Tuesday I slept. And then, let's see. This is easy. Empty string. This test doesn't need to exist. Okay, and then some of these are going to become easy to do because this is 0 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5. Yeah, that's fine. This is 0 and 1. Because I can do the first 2 letters of the alphabet. I think I've got this. And then today I worked, and I think I did okay, but, you know, I did write down the directions of delete the production database. So, you know, there was that. Hopefully there is, let's see, this doesn't make sense anymore because we're not doing any of that. So that test dies. Let's see. This is needed. Okay, so this we want to do a, let's see, int array. Right, so we want that. We just got to, you know, type correctly. That is the wrong exception message. Position already connected is what we care about. I'm going to put that in instead. Okay, but this is actually a good test to have in here. So new int array ding. Let's see. And this was, oh man, I already forgot the value that was in here. It doesn't matter because the whole idea is using a twice. So 0, 1, and then 0 and anything else. 0, 2, right? Something of that nature. That may have been the original of what was in here. Okay. Well, I know I'm wrong because I've got the wrong number of parens in here, so that's part of it. Oh, I probably can't do an array of value tuples. The thing is, this isn't an invalid sequence anymore. Because A to B, B to A is exactly the use case that you put there. This is the same test as this. So what we will do is we will take this out, plug this in here, take this off, and make this a fact. Done. With duplicate source positions, not letters. Get rid of the word letters from that. Constructor with lowercase. We don't have casing anymore. That's not a thing. Mixed case isn't a thing. That goes away. Constructor with maximum pairs creates valid connections. I don't think I care about this. Because the maximum is going to be based upon the character set of the machine. Which does remind me, I need to go enigma machine constructor and make sure that we check the plug board. If plug board is not null. Okay, Copilot. if I check if plugboard is not null, throwing an argument exception if it's null is about the dumbest suggestion you can make. Okay. You moron. So, if plugboard dot, I guess we need to look, because what we care about is knowing that none of the connections right? Oh, I guess what we should also connect, if source equals destination, we don't allow that. If source is less than 0 or destination is less than 0, we don't allow that. And then what we really care about is our max value here. Because what we need to know is what's the highest swap value we could possibly get back. Because the highest swap value must be less than our wiring length for the machine. So I think what we will do, I think we're going to go internal on this because I don't really want it checked outside of this. Internal int max position. Let's see here. But I don't care about just keys. Oh, keys concat with values, default if empty, -1. I think it would go with 0. Yeah. Because what I want to do is on the Enigma machine itself, if plugboard max position is greater than that, we need to throw on. So we know an empty plugboard isn't going to do anything for us. And actually what we can go one step further. Because this thing is immutable, we can do internal static plugboard empty, and we can just do that. That way we don't have to new up a new instance every time. We can have a singular instance that we use for the empty case. You see this pattern used a lot because in .NET, most of your performance problems come from memory. And so if you allocate less memory, you have less memory to clean up. So garbage collector run less, which is good. There is kind of a weird thing here where this is technically allocating a singular instance as soon as the plugboard is created, even if we never need it. So if I get real overeager, what you do is you use a lazy and have this be a computed field into the lazy, but I am way too lazy to use a lazy. And I didn't think I was awake enough to actually make that sentence work, but I think I did it. So that counts. Okay. So what we want to do here is I think I want to go to the Enigma machine tests, and I want the constructor tests around the plugboard because I want a test if the plugboard value exceeds with plugboard out of range connection throws argument exception. There we go. And then this guy here, because all I really need to do is 0.26, and that should be good enough. right? Oh, no, I need to do new plug board with a connection between 0 and 26 because the Enigma 1 does not have 26 positions, so this wire is being plugged into a hole that doesn't exist. So this guy should throw. This is kind of a dumb test, actually, because that is validating that. So this is doing not null on new Enigma machine. Constructors are not going to ever return null. That's a dumb test. It's basically validating that this thing doesn't throw. Nah, dumb test. Dumb test. But this one here should be act plus assert, and this should be something more like assert throws, argument exception, all right, and then we're gonna do something with a lambda, do the thingy, do the needful, do the thing, var ex, and then something like assert equal. Nope, that's not how you spell equal. Let's see, plug board ex dot param name, something of that nature. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, that doesn't work. There. But now we've got that constructor test. Now we just got to get these tests working. Oh, there's so many of them. So many of them. I think what I can do though is a lot of them just use this. So we can come in here and we can go with 0, 1, 2, 3. There. Replace all. Okay. That handles a few of them. Let's see here. We can do this one as well. And this is 0, 2, 4, 5. All right, and then we can go bring. That fixes a bunch of them. Let's see. Constructor with extra spaces. That test doesn't matter. Constructor with maximum pairs doesn't matter. Don't care about that anymore. We've got the test on the other side to cover it. I'll swap int all positions work correctly. What? I mean, I get what it's saying. The test name confuses me. 0, 25 is mapped. Let's see. So, and then 1 maps to 24, right? And then 2 maps to 23. And 3 maps to 22. And that's all the letters she wrote. Yeah? Okay, great. Yeah. Clear and int swap produces this. Okay, so this is just a wrong test. It's kind of weird. I don't think that that's as useful. The fact that it's running through 26 is an artifact of where it was. I don't know if I care to fix it at this point, but it's interesting. Verify bidirectional swapping. I feel like a lot of these tests can be collapsed. Empty null. This is not a thing anymore. That goes away. So what are these things like? This test here verifies the same thing. This is testing char and int methods, so we don't actually care. This is testing bidirectional swaps, which is exactly the same thing that's tested up here. So I'm going to just whack this entire section. So I don't think it's testing anything of value. Okay. Compile. The live unit tests are running. Of course, I've broken things. What else would one expect? I'll put my live tests over here where I can keep an eye on you. Let's see. Constructor with null creates plugboard with no connections. That's a dumb assert. And then this is just straight throwing. This is not a valid test because it's a params collection. That's there. Let's see. Constructor with single pair creates plugboard with one connection. Okay. Swap 0. Expect 1. 0. 1. Okay. Great. You should go green. Oh, that's interesting. This probably isn't a valid test because with a single pair, the way this is set up now is that if you want it to be bidirectional, you actually have to plug in both connections. Scroll up. Because Izzy, your example there is each pair it's not a bidirectional connection. So I don't know that this is valid. I think in order for this to be valid, it would also have to be like this. There we go. Single connection. We're going to do this. Yeah. So I think the original test, it assumed that it could pass in one pair and have it work. 0. So this is doing the exact same test. Only with more values. I'm going to get rid of this test in favor of doing this test because I don't see any reason why this test should cover the equivalent, right? So if we wanted the bidirectional swap on all of these to make a match, this then looks like this for our connections. All right, so that goes like that. And now 0, the B becomes a 1. The B becomes a 1. And then C is 2. C is 2. Because I can count. D is 3. D is 3. E is 4. I go one letter at a time, so I'm not an idiot, because it's very possible I am. Especially right now. Man, I said I was quitting early off. I've gone to midnight and I'm on 1 Mountain Dew. My world is about to become really messed up. Okay, swap with connection returns swapped connection. This test is not doing anything different than the above test. In fact, what the heck is this thing doing? That's not useful. Boy, I'm just gonna be deleting tests left and right. Because it had swap char. That's the problem. Is I deleted the difference between the character and the int overloads, and it's testing both. So we're just gonna have the swap tests. We're not gonna have swap int tests. And then I can get rid of this entire region. Bye. Boom. Okay. There. Fixing tests by deleting tests. World becomes better. Okay, so this one does not matter either. So we don't have casing. Swapping twice returns original only if we set up the bidirectional mapping. It should be 1, 0 here. And 3, 2 here. And an indent 5, 4 here. And this should be, let's see, 0, 0, 2, 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 6. But 6 isn't one that we are mapping, so we're just going to do letter 5. And yes, I said the letter 5. Okay. All those tests are passing, and now it's just the Enigma machine one is failing. Oh, and it's the complete one. Probably because this assumes a bidirectional mapping that doesn't exist. Great. Let's see here. Nope. Copy, paste. 19.5. There is probably going to have to be a turn of the crank on this where I clean up this API, because doing this every time is a little annoying. So I will probably be putting some sort of helper in here, because if it's a pain for me to write, it's going to be a pain for the next person. As much as I hate that person right now, it's probably future Kevin, and I may hate future Kevin right now, but that's just the sinuses talking. Oh, nope. Copy, not paste. 11, 15. Nope. Copy, paste. 13, 25. Boom, boom. 16 and 12. Okay. You pass now. Now that you've got the bidirectional mappings, huzzah. Okay. And we have the appropriate constructor test. Great. That fixes the plug board up. All of that because I decided to look at one more of Izzy's comments. Okay. There. Okay. Yep. Happy with that. Poor future Kevin. Yes. Future Kevin usually hates past Kevin. Okay. The update, it now just takes, bring this up. I will type properly. Takes an array of what's the non-bidirectional? Directional connections. Okay, comment, resolve, and future Izzy hates all past Izzy's. Yes. Though that's actually true. Like, if future you isn't unhappy with past you, it probably means that you've done some, like, you haven't advanced. So it's kind of like, if I ever go back and look at code that I wrote like a decade ago, if I'm not embarrassed by it, it probably means I haven't learned anything. So it's actually good when I look at old code and I'm mildly embarrassed by it, because it's like, okay, I've actually improved somehow. Let's see. It is a lot better without the strings. Yeah. There we go. See? Now we can knock out a bunch of Izzy comments all at once. No, let's see. Maybe remap? Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that I'm going to leave that until next time because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to look at the next comment and then I'm going to keep scrolling and I need to stop. Otherwise, I'm going to just keep going. Okay, just for anybody who wasn't around before, .NET Conf is coming up in November, free conference online. It is affectionately what I call Geek Christmas. It will be awesome. There is a .NET user group in December with me. It will be streamed, so either in person or online. Pick your favorite. Basically going through all of the coolness that is in .NET and .NET 10. I've been looking at it, and there is so much material that I will have to trim some stuff because I've only got 60 to 90 minutes, and it's gonna be a whirlwind tour. So, but there is a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe, and then, so yeah, yes, cutie, free conference. .NET Conf. It is coming. It is coming up. There's also another conference coming up in December that I will have more details on later because it's not actually published yet, but there will be another one in December. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, .NET Conf is doing kind of local .NET community events around. And so you could see all the way out as far as January 13th. And so not to be left behind, we are also doing a .NET Conf event. This will be either in person or online. There is a fee that I don't remember what it is for in person. They're doing food and whatnot for it. And the agenda is intentionally vague until after November 13th. So and it says session 1, session 2. What will probably end up happening in here is this is actually probably going to get broken up into 4 talks, I think is what the game plan is. We will see. We've also got one of the .NET Conf presenters that will also be at our local event. He's one of our local guys, and so we have to show him off a little bit, which is great. So this one will be here free if you want to watch it online. Though if you're online, the networking sessions and the breaks are probably not going to be streamed. It's just going to be the sessions. So if you want that, if you want food and in person, there is in-person tickets as well. So I think that is all of the key update stuff. Yeah. Multiple conferences coming up. Next one I think is .NET Conf in November, and then we will have user group, and then the Spokane .NET Conf one. So cool. Hopefully that was useful for everyone. Apparently the PR that hang on, let me look. Nope, the PR that we fixed up at the very beginning actually went through. So huzzah! Yes, cutie. Lots of fun stuff. So hopefully you aren't sick of hearing me talk, and I will get rid of my nasalness before any of the other talks so that it's a lot nicer. And then we will go from there. So with that, I am going to go crash. As always, happy coding. See everyone next time.